Greetings, cultivators from around the world. Jordan River here, back at you with more Growcast, doing it for the community. Today we have the amazing Soil Guru back on the line. Soil Guru is an awesome soil mixer. He's into sustainable and regenerative farming practices, and he's speaking at Community Cup. That's right, Community Cup coming up May 7th. You'll hear more about that dropping this week. I know I'm excited to see you guys there in Oklahoma City. But Soil Guru's episode today, it's awesome. We talk about sustainability, we talk about switching to soil, automated watering, everything is included in this episode. So before we jump into it, shout out to sustainablevillage.com with their Blue Mat auto watering systems. Code GROWCAST is live only till the end of this month, so grab yourself a Blue Mat watering system, put your soil grow on autopilot. This is what you want, folks. Code GROWCAST at sustainablevillage.com. You can use it now. Get the kit. Get the Blue Mat watering sensor. You'll never go back. It's going to hold your soil at an optimum moisture, which is going to help your microbes thrive. It's going to help deliver more nutrients to your plant. And more importantly, you can have so much extra time not hand watering all the time. Just fill your reservoir, set it and forget it. It is the future of organic growing. Get your Blue Mat watering systems 10% off only till the end of this month. Code GROWCAST at sustainablevillage.com. Thank you to Michael Box and Sustainable Village. An awesome episode recently. And then, of course, the 10% off code live at sustainablevillage.com. Go grab it, everybody. You'll thank me later. Thank you to Sustainable Village. All right, let's get into it with Soil Guru. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to Growcast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in again today. Before we get started, as always, I urge you to share the show. Tell a grower about Growcast. Turn someone on to the show. Turn someone on to growing. It's the best thing that you can do for the cannabis community. And, of course, see everything that we're doing at growcastpodcast.com/action. There you can find the classes, the meetups, the seeds, the membership, all the fun stuff. It's all up there. I appreciate you listeners tuning in. Today, we've got an awesome episode from a return guest. It's been a minute, but he is back. We have none other than from Environmental Soil Sciences and much more. We've got Soil Guru back on the line. What's up, Valiant? How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, man. Excellent. Thank you for coming back on the show. Of course, Soil Guru of Environmental Soil Sciences. You can find that website, exactly what I just said, .com. And also one of the speakers at the upcoming Community Cup Oklahoma. Thank you for agreeing to do that, man. I'm so excited to see your presentation at the Community Cup. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. I've got a lot in store for you guys.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I saw you at one of the other expos. You had the nice booth all set up with your grow tent and all your soil out there. You do it right,
man.
Yeah, you
got to.
Before we jump into all these questions and stuff, can you tell us what you've been up to and what's been going on in the world of Soil Guru?
In the world of soil, it's been steady, you have the slow seasons and your busy seasons and all that. But I mean, this past year has been a hit for the industry as a whole, But for the most part, I've just been up to, making soil and growing cannabis. I run 2 cultivation facilities, Lab Farms and Bud Tender Farms. I'm now getting my own cultivation facility off the ground, Tropical Trichomes Organics.
Nice.
So a lot has been going on, and on top of that is I'm opening an organic vegetable farm this summer and then raising 2 beautiful girls. I mean, that's the highlight of my life, no matter what it is.
That's a lot. I love it.
Yes.
I love that you're a family man. I love that you're into the sustainability side. And now you're working with, your own craft facility and 2 others here in Oklahoma, right? These licensed cultivators doing
Correct.
Soil organic grows. That's really cool.
Yep.
Getting that product on the shelf.
All organic, like literally all 100% organic, all grown in my soil. My company's complete regimen, actually, dry nutrient and soil. But it's super simple, man. It takes the guesswork out of it for a lot of people. And it gives you a clean quality product for your money. You see what I'm saying? Like, obviously the market, if you know anything about the market in Oklahoma, it's bad, so you can't afford to be, cost of a pound of cannabis to be to your cost $800. You won't make any money.
Right.
You'll have to shut down. And that's what I feel like is happening with a lot of these grows is people relied so heavily on bottled nutrients and whatever these nutrient companies told them. It was easy, but it was easy when you can sell it at $2,500 a pound.
Exactly. Now you have to think about costs.
you have to think, you have to do a lot of things. Like, I mean, there's a lot of growers going the organic route because one, it's cleaner, obviously. The only reason, I mean, the biggest, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shots for this, but the only thing that synthetic grows, and in very few cases have over organic growers, is yield. That three ounces, 3.5 ounces per plant versus 2.5 ounces per plant, 3 ounces per plant, that adds up,
Mhm.
So
That's an honest take, man.
yeah, when you're expecting a 30-pound harvest and in organics you're getting a 27-pound harvest, 25-pound harvest, let's put that into perspective with numbers. $1,000 a pound, that's $5,000 that you're now out.
Right.
But you could afford that when you're running synthetics. Synthetics, you've got to buy nutrients all the time. So your cost per pound, and I don't know what synthetic cost per pound is. I'll be honest with you. My customers that have switched from synthetics told me personally that I have personally single-handedly saved their growth.
That's amazing.
Because they were going under, trying to keep up with the Joneses, essentially, of buying the entire advanced nutrient lines. Like, I'm going to name call, but they ran the entire line. Everything that Advance offers, they had, and they were running it. And he was like, man, we just watched our margins get slimmer and slimmer. Like right now, his cost per pound is $350 a pound.
Wow, soil grown. So this is a subject that I want to focus in on. It's a good start to this episode, and I do want to get more into, sustainability and microbiology and everything. But I want to start here from this point, which I've seen a lot of growers consider, which is switching from a bottled nutrient line to a soil grow. And first of all, I like that you have an honest take. You don't seem like, you know what I mean? For you to say, okay, like there are salt growers out there, they're doing well, you can get good yields. We're the same here at Growcast, right?
Absolutely.
I want to see people growing. That's the most important thing. But there are a lot of people who are looking to get off that bottle and get into the soil, man. This is a transition that many people are interested in. So I'd like to get your take on that from the beginning. Like, where do you recommend if somebody who's good at growing cannabis using bottled nutrients switches to a living soil type grow? Talk to me about what container size you'd recommend they might start out with.
So in a living soil setting, I wouldn't go now again, commercial scale, I have customers that run 3 gallons. They do teas twice a week. There's a lot more feeding involved in a 3-gallon pot. It can be done because people question, well, if I use 3-gallon pots and if I have to use a minimum of 5 gallons, then now that's, you can fit more 3-gallon pots on a table, which means you can fit more plants because that's the way people think.
Yes.
More plants, more flour, more money. All of that goes to, you as an individual. Now, where to start is buy a bag of soil. You see what I'm saying? Like, I can sit here and give you articles upon fucking articles, bro. Like, literally, I can give you science scholar articles that are all related to why soil is better. But that don't necessarily mean that everyone's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Let's think about food. If your food or these veggies and sprouts and stuff you buy from the store, they're in a more than likely a mix that's made in-house. It's just peat moss and perlite and vermiculite.
Right.
If not, it's going to be Miracle Grow Scotch soil, which is just peat moss, fucking quote-unquote aged forest products, which in Fox Farm uses the same lingo. That's just sawdust that's inoculated with a chemical that makes it poof like peat moss.
Wow.
Like, literally, that's what it is. And people don't know this. That's the cheat codes, essentially, that people are willing to take and sacrifice quality because that, believe it or not, you leave that lettuce or whatever it is sprout in that little plug for any more than a week or two that you have to. There's no nutrient there. So it's going to survive off of whatever you give it through a liquid medium, being your water. So whatever calcium, magnesium, whatever micros are in your water, that's what it's going to eat off of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it's going to be a point in time where that plant needs to take another step. So going back to like which your question, size pot matters because you need to have sufficient food to feed that plant.
Right. You need enough minerals. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make when they switch to soil is they go with these small pots and then,
it won't work.
They start running into problems where the plant eats through all the nutrition. The dryback is too fast. Exactly. So you get them into a larger container.
You have to. 5-gallon is standard. That's what I recommend to commercial cultivation.
Minimum is what you're saying.
Home growers, a minimum. Absolutely. Like like I would never go anything smaller than a 5 ever.
Right.
I veg in smaller pots, like I veg commercial scale. I veg in 1-gallon pots, nothing but water. Like just think of what I'm saying, and then in a commercial perspective, that alone, how much money could a commercial grower save by just vegging in 1 gallon of my soil? So if you do the math, there's 200 gallons of soil in a cubic yard. There's $370 in a cubic yard. So you're spending less than $2 on your medium in a gallon pot. And now all you have to do is give it water and microbes, which is probably, nothing.
It's beautiful. I think that's where this like soil growing really shines too, is like veg stage. They're so healthy and they just cruise along. And then I think once they're big enough, like you said, once they start chewing through a bunch of calcium and sulfur and potassium and flour, that's when you want them in like a bed or like a 25-gallon pot.
So that's what we do. That's exactly what we do. So that's actually going to piggyback to another question that you asked me, but I won't hit on that. I'll let when that time comes. But that's the biggest thing there is having that size pot that is ample enough. Like think of you. Like you can be in a 4x4 room and they can fit as much food as they possibly can in that 4x4 room with you. But there's going to come a point in time where you're not going to have any more food in that 4x4 area. You've eaten it all.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happens in a pot. Plants, they search outward. So as they eat, they're going into, like, I hate to put numbers on it because there's no science to prove it. So let's just say within the first 4 weeks of flower, they eat up about another 1.5 gallons soil.
Sure.
And then now they have that remaining, 2.5 to finish out, bulk up. That's why, like in that 5-gallon pot, that gives it enough food. Like I ran full cycle in my company's soil with just water, side by side with Lush and Soham, 2 massive companies, and almost 50% yield increase from my soil to theirs. Overall plants way happier. Like literally, it was a night and day difference. And that's when I was like, oh crap, I made my soil too good. But that doesn't, that's not going to change, what I do. My product's always going to stay the same. My quality is going to remain the same. Will I be able to produce as much as Scott's Landscaping or the Monsanto Group? Absolutely not. But that's not the market that I'm trying to tap into. That's not the market that I want to be in relationship with. I want people to be able, like I tell people all the time, my Instagram is open. People come and ask me questions and I answer every single one.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Now, I will say I haven't tried either of those soils myself that you mentioned, but I will say this. A lot of soils on the market, pre-bagged, tend to be under-mineralized.
Absolutely.
You plug your plants into them and they fucking run out of sulfur. There's not enough sulfur.
Absolutely.
There's not enough calcium.
And the biggest issue is the trace minerals too. They don't have much trace minerals because they don't have organic matter in there. The root of your trace minerals is truly based on the foundation of your soil. So you can supplement trace minerals, absolutely. But trace minerals are trace for a reason. They're very, very old. They have been in that soil for a very long time.
Right.
Like you don't have a trace mineral that becomes available instantly. It's going to be water soluble, yes, but it still has to go through a cation exchange. It still has to go through many other processes to get to the plant. Like the plant just doesn't go and grab, fucking boron. Like it doesn't work like that. Like that's not how the chain of and that's where I think people get mixed up is to think with a bottle nutrient and cocoa, I'm feeding directly to the plant. Yes, in that setting, you absolutely are. In a soil setting, you now have basically a whole fucking universe in between the nutrient, the actual nutrient, and the actual rhizosphere or the plant root tips.
Right.
The microbes have to do their thing to it and do this because plants and microbes communicate through sugar. The plant's roots let off of sugar. The microbes then go and eat the sugar. That's where that nutrient exchange actually happens. And then the plant takes it up. Like that's how it happens in nature. So that's what we do in a living soil is you're just trying to mimic that as best as you can.
That is so important for a first-time soil grower to understand, which is exactly what you just said. And there's practical applications of that, right? Which is, so let's going back to what you said, like, I like that you said buy a bag of soil your first time. Maybe try your own mix the second or third time once you have it down. Buy a reputable bag of soil, get enough to fill a good container. And then when you're talking about the biology and getting that biology thriving, the number one thing I see is over or under watering, which by the way, being in a bigger container helps that. it'll be harder to over and underwater when you're in a bigger container.
Right.
But that's something that's really important to get that biology actually functioning and thriving.
Yep.
So
because there's a happy medium in there. So
Right.
there's your temperature has to be right. Your moisture content has to be right. Like there's so many things and that's why people have refrained away from organics for so long. It's hard for me to sell organics. There's so many moving parts that one has to understand. It's easy for Scott's Miracle Grow to sell you a bag of Miracle Grow and then tell you have to buy a pelletized chemical for tomatoes, a pelletized chemical for whatever.
Yeah, flower ornamentals. There's specific
Right.
shit
That's
that you need
why
to pay
they
me
have
money
this
for.
built this way.
Right.
Exactly. You can't go and make, they're not teaching you to go and make your own lactic acid bacteria. They're not teaching you to go dig a hole or find some old leaves and create your own IMO.
Right.
Like, no. Like, that's things that I run on a commercial scale. Like, when we had an OMMA inspection, the lady was like, does your nutrients have a product label? And I'm like, no, ma'am, it's fish bone meal. I'm telling you what it is. Like, literally, like
this came from
my
nature.
Dry nutrient. Yeah, literally, this all came from nature. Like, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know how, I know how fish bone meal was made, but that's not,
I can create fish. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, like, I cannot do that. And she was just like, mind blown. And I showed her some IMO too.
Okay, that's funny.
And she was like, okay, well, you had to make this. And I was like, brown sugar, cooked white rice, and leaf mold from outside. And she looked at me like her brain exploded. And I was like, goodness gracious.
Well,
this is the person that's supposed to be telling me that I'm legal.
Exactly. And that's the same sentiment I heard. We did a tour of Fluor Cannabis in Las Vegas, and there's very few people doing living soil in Nevada, and they're doing living soil. And they said the same thing. The inspector was furious. What is going on here with this? And this is going to violate code. And it's like, no, this is Korean natural farming. This is whatever the input was.
From the earth.
Yeah, it's all natural.
I'm closing my loop. And that's what they don't want you to do. That's society society wants you to be dependent on society.
Right.
That's how the system works. That's how the world keeps going. And I'm not mad at it. I take part in society every day. I buy fuel. I have a nice truck. I take part in society, but there has to be a point of if society decides that there's no more food in the supermarket.
Yes.
What am I going to do? Die?
There's got to be a dividing line between the comforts of society, but like you're saying, producing your own food, producing your own medicine.
Own medicine.
That's right. You got it, man.
That's it. That's all it goes down to. Like sustainability, I spoke about this on another podcast, but sustainability is not an achievable goal. It's not a realistic goal. And that sounds weird coming from me, knowing that my degree is in global environmental sustainability. But in college, they taught us that. Like, you'll never be 100% sustainable. There's going to be a point in time you're going to have to rely on something that's not renewable. But as little as you can create that situation of you having to rely on something that's not renewable, now eliminates your carbon footprint. So, like me, like my waste doesn't go, my food waste doesn't go to the trash anymore. I now have pigs, goats, and chickens. So I feed them my, veggie scraps if it doesn't go to the compost pile.
Right.
Or, things like that. So like my trash now, I've seen when we were recycling, and I'm not recycling now, but I've seen my trash go down to I was emptying my trash once every 2 weeks. Because I recycled all my cardboard, all my food scraps. I was putting very little things in my trash bin. And that alone cut down my carbon footprint. Because now that trash truck doesn't have to stop to my house. They can keep going. So like things like that, I think of things on a micro and a macro scale because global environmental sustainability is my degree. So I try to think of things as a total perspective of why and what I do and how I do and things like, with my company, like I do everything as sustainable as possible, because I'm giving back.
I think that's on a lot of growers' minds. And you said something really interesting, which is, I have said this for a while. It's absolutely true, which is you really shouldn't pick each other apart for what we're doing that's wasteful, because all of us are doing something that is wasteful
in some way.
And in some way, just by existing and consuming. We could all pick each other apart about what we need to do is focus on the thing that we care about the most and focus on doing better at that. not tearing down others for what they do, but necessarily, no, this is the one thing that I really care about and I want to knock this out. So for instance, you said food waste. I want to start composting, and then your food waste is taken care of, and then you feel better and maybe you move on to the next thing. So I totally agree with that. And like, let's be honest, you can grow cannabis highly irresponsibly in an organic system. And you can also grow cannabis pretty responsibly using salts if you're careful. The big problem is the runoff with the salts. That's the thing that you don't really encounter with the organic soil grow that you do with the bottled nutrients, is that freaking runoff. Where does this runoff have to go?
No, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, and again, I'm not against hydro growers. Like, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yep.
So, and there's more than 100 ways to grow cannabis. So like, I am not knocking your entire deal by no means. Will you see me growing hydroponically? Absolutely not. I wouldn't grow veggies hydroponically, because to me, it's a waste of such a valuable resource. And people don't think that way because water is everywhere. You can go and get water. Like here, like I'm from the Bahamas. Like there's some, literally, I'm talking neighboring communities no more than 2 miles away that's getting water at a community pump. And I'm, a mile, 2 miles away. The island I live on is only 7 miles by 21.
Wow.
So like, everyone's my neighbor essentially.
That's crazy. That's very small.
Exactly.
And that is a closed loop.
It's crazy. And it's so funny. We're dependent. We import 96% of our food, and we have sunshine every day of the year. Wow. Our coldest temperature might be a 65.
Oof. Oh my God. First of all, that sounds amazing.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can grow anything year round.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. But you have to find a way to be resourceful on an island like that, right? And you have to be sustainable to some degree, because you can't just, throw something off the highway and never see it again. You're on the island.
Exactly. You're literally, and everybody knows everybody. So that's, another thing.
FOOP 420 sale is still on, everybody. That's right. You have an amazing deal at thefoop.com. Buy two, get one free. That's right. Buy two, get one free of the FOOP Nutrients, certified organic, beautiful, lovely FOOP Nutrients, the propagation gel, the mist, the sweetener, whatever you like. It's on right now for the 420 sale. It ends on 4/30. You can grab it at thefoop.com. Buy two, get one free across the site. It's certified organic by the Organic Materials Institute, and free shipping on all orders over $70. You know I love the organic fertilizers. This is exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about making sure that you're not harming the environment with your gardening practice as well. FOOP is all natural, made from fish waste, and certified organic. Buy two, get one free ends on 4/30. So if you've been wanting to try FOOP Nutrients, get that organic goodness in your garden, now is the time. Free shipping on all orders over $70, and buy two, get one free on the newts, the gel, the mist, the sweetener, whatever you like. Be healthy, go organic, use the FOOP, everybody. We love the FOOP. They're great supporters of the show. They're supporters of Community Cup, and we love the organic fertilizers that they provide. Thefoop.com, grab that deal. Buy two, get one free, ends 4/30, and tell them Growcast sent you, as always. Thank you to the FOOP. Can we talk about, I don't know if we want to just focus on inputs, maybe inputs and practices, but things that you believe are not so sustainable, and then things that you really stand behind and are really good inputs and practices that we can use in natural farming. Because, I hear things change a lot. I hear, oh, this is good. Oh, no, it's not. This is sustainable. This isn't. I just like to hear what your thoughts are on the most and least sustainable.
Look around you first. See what nutrient you can produce from your surroundings. Because there's situations where people live in the city and they're growing in a tent, but they really want to try living soil and be as zero, as carbon neutral as possible when it comes to like nutrient supply or whatever you want to call it, or just being more sustainable. They can't go outside. Like, I can go out and make some IMO tomorrow because I've got 15 acres. I've got, trees, lake, like a little pond that used to be a pond. So like, I've got quite a bit of places that I can pick my own IMO from. So that now gives me my microbial support that you need in a living soil setting, which if you weren't in my position, you would have to buy that from a store.
Right.
And there's great companies out there that have, microbial supplements. You got in Mammoth Pea, you've got Advance have their own. There's so many different microbial companies. The one that I love, my favorite, is Wind River Microbes. They're actually an Oklahoma-based company. The owner of the company is an old rancher, but basically she has researched microbes for so long, and now they have gotten a consortium of microbes in their microbial supplement that can actually horizontal gene transfer.
So does that mean sharing the genes with the same generation, essentially?
Right. So, like, let's just say there needs to be a higher uptake of phosphorus. And there's certain microbes that make certain nutrients available, and they do a certain job. So, like, if we need more of X, they can horizontal gene transfer and supplement X.
Now everybody knows we need more now.
Right. So, like,
wow.
bro, microbes are so crazy how they communicate. It's oh my goodness. Like, just take it. Humans, we're dumb. Like, that's it. Like, that's
right.
Like, nature is so freaking intelligent. It's not even funny.
Our gut is smarter than our brain.
Literally, like, like, so, and that's my favorite microbial company.
That's cool. I'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, Wind River Microbes, great company, and it's actually not even used in the cannabis industry a lot. It's used more in like livestock and like birds, and so like there's turkeys. Turkeys they did research on it with this massive turkey farm that they have a product called pH Balancer 2, I think it's called. Balancer 2, I think is what it's called. But it's basically like a gut microbe essentially for animals. So like I give it to I put it in my chicken's water, my goat's water, my pig's water. Like I had a chick that was freaking had pasty butt, and it was literally just constipated. I gave it the microbes that afternoon, like 3:00. She couldn't even walk. She was like crippled essentially because she was constipated. It was a chick. I gave her, put the water microbes in their water. Literally 3 hours later, 6:00, when I went to go put them to bed, like put them all inside to put them away, she was running around with everyone else. No more pasty butt. Within 3 hours of just correcting her gut with the right microbes, it allowed her to pass properly, and then now she was able to function again.
That was like a previous guest we had on that was talking about drinking the BAM, the beneficial anaerobic microbes that he says I drink it every single day.
Listen, if I can't drink it myself, or if I can't consume it, why would I give it to my plants?
Man, it is an interesting theory. Now I want to point something out specific though. You mix bottled nutrients with IMO. I think that's really cool because usually people fall into one of two camps, right? Like, oh, I only make my own stuff. But you're saying like, no, add microbes that you can get, right? Like the ones that are around you, the ones that are available.
Like, I mean, now the thing is, you've got to realize that that's something that's not going to be taught by the big guys.
Right.
Because they want you to buy a product.
On either side. On either side. Yeah, the organic guys are going to say no bottles, exactly. And the bottle guys are going to say...
And I don't stand there. I literally do not. I go into grows all the time that run... I'm working on a grow right now because I do irrigation and automation on the side. And I'm working at this probably 3,000 plant grow, massive grow. And they run salts, and I told them about my soil, and they were like, we'll try it someday, I guess. But like I'm putting in their irrigation system. Like I don't see color.
Right.
We're all human beings. We're all growing cannabis at the end of the day.
We're all run by microbes. At the end of the day, it's all the same microbes.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like use those. You can use them in any setting. Like fish it markets that hydro growers can use their product as well. Yes, you can. The issue with that is you have to continually use them because you're not going to have biodiversity saturation. You're not going to have a population saturation or any of that because in most of these synthetic systems, an enzyme is usually a part of their program, and an enzyme literally just cleans everything out. It's like a big bulldozer.
Right.
It comes through and eats away all the salt buildup and anything that's in the medium. It literally flushes it all the way out.
Breaks things down.
And then you go ahead. Usually that's right before you feed. Or you have a heavy feed because they want to make sure that you flush out all that whatever's in the medium so that these salts that you're now putting in there, they now have to use cation exchange to be able to bind to the roots of the plant to be able to transmit this nutrient.
Right.
all of that plays a role in people's marketings. But yes, you can absolutely 100% use microbes of any sort. They don't have to be, you know, indigenous microorganisms to your where you live. Like I said, there's store bought options that you have that, and I can almost guarantee you, and obviously I'm not going to say guarantee because I don't have the research to prove it, because there's no cannabis research to prove it.
Sure.
In other settings, it's been proven, like tomatoes have more yield. They taste better.
I've
All of
seen
that
it
is
time and
proven
time
with
again,
microbes.
man. I've just seen it time and time again. And we're really on the same page, because it is when you introduce microbes. I can't tell you how many of these hydro guys I've seen that introduce one product with
Hmm.
bacteria in it, and they say, I'm never going back. It's like,
Yep.
I think it's really cool. It's super,
Yeah.
super cool.
They're
Clearly
just
it's
starting to
contributing.
understand more. That's all it is. Mark my word. There's going to be a lot of people switching to raised beds and living soil.
Mm.
It almost doesn't make sense to not do it.
So let's go back there. You're saying, I love this idea of look at what's around you, get what's close to you. That's always a good idea. You also talked about like urban environments versus non-urban environments. I know a lot of people, for instance, will go to their coffee shop and ask for coffee grounds. Now, let
Yep.
me ask you this. When you're getting inputs like that, are you worried about how do you balance grabbing something from your local environment, but also possibly having some source of contamination? Like coffee grounds, for instance, are very pesticided. I've heard people say put them
Hmm.
through a compost first, but you tell me, how do you balance that?
So that's a good way of cleaning it. But when you compost it, what happens? The microbes access it and break it down, do they not? That's how that cleansing
Right.
essentially happens. So microbes are honestly the answer to a lot of questions, because they keep pH balance. They keep so many things in the soil in check that it's not even funny. Like, they are literally your workhorses. Why is earthworm casting so good of an input? Because there's microbes in their microbiome in their gut that now is in this feces when they secrete it or excrete it.
Hmm.
That's what we're getting. A little bundle of microbes is what earthworm castings essentially is, and organic matter.
Wow.
They're food. So that when you do put that in an organic setting, top dressing it on a pot, like I've literally seen customers. So I had a buddy of mine that grown in my soil since my company came around 3 years, only 3 years ago, and he's been religiously growing in my soil. He runs Worry Be Gone, which is like, they've got a pretty big farm, but they run salts. And he's been preaching to his boss, basically a freaking devil or angel on his shoulder, but trying to tell him like, hey, like, you got to try this living soil stuff out. Like, try this. One time they were running like 2 gallon plastic bags with like all hydro. So he took some soil and top dressed two plants and didn't top dress anything else. And if you saw the difference, the plant, just by top dressing 2 inches on the top of that cocoa
Hmm.
and allowing the microbes to get in there, because he didn't use the enzyme on those two plants, just to see the difference. Because I told him, like, the enzyme's going to clean everything out. Like, you're wasting your time putting my soil on there. You're wasting 4 inches of good soil. And he was like, well, I'm not going to do it on these ones. I'm like, all right, well, just don't get fired. Like, do it at your own risk. But yeah, so like microbes,
It's
man, like
magic.
they're so important,
Oh, well,
and
worm castings too, like carrying those microbes are, I
yep,
mean, is that your top? Like, that's okay. So back to the coffee thing. Again, that's a great way to feed coffee grounds to your worms and then have them
yep,
vermicompost it. And then bam,
yep,
there you have the nutrition. And like, I think that worms and worm
exactly.
bins might be one of the best things to recommend to people
And
getting into the,
they're
yeah,
easy to have. Like, you can have you can build one in a little 2x2 area, you know? Like,
right.
you can put that, even if you live in an apartment city, a city apartment, you can put that on your balcony if
The
you have.
worm is key. You're right. Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So, and they'll reduce your carbon footprint, because now you can put your food waste in there.
Hmm.
Like, there's just so much to pick one favorite, I guess you can say.
It's hard.
That's why I usually always just go back to microbes. Like, that's my soil would be nothing without microbes.
How do we maximize that? If we have the good nutrition in our soil, how do we maximize our biological activity?
So obviously moisture is going to be your biggest thing. You've got to know the saturation limit of your soil. You've got to know right when the soil is going to let off water, because you don't want runoff in a living soil setting.
Right.
Like if you're watering and worrying about runoff and checking and have like a puddle of runoff in living soil, I'll see you in second week of flower looking for nutrients. I can
All the
guarantee you, because
magnesium, yeah, it's
you're
gone.
leaching it all out.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Magnesium is an Mg plus positive. So it's going to automatically bind to H2O once it gets in there, and you're just going to run it right out of the medium. So that's the biggest thing, is knowing, like you mentioned it earlier, your watering habits. You have to be able to, you want to water with living soil. My hack to living soil is knowing your soil saturation limit.
Right.
You can do this at home. I mean, it just take a 1 gallon of soil, and then you just measure, okay, let's just go by ounces. I put in an ounce of water, keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. When that pot then starts to drip or cup or whatever it is, then you know that soil is at its saturation limit. It cannot hold any more water.
Oh, I like that.
You take that volume of water, and then now you know your saturation limit of your soil. Same thing with cocoa. Like, that's why you water. If you're running however many mils of cocoa, you know how many mils of water that you need to be feeding. That's how these dosing systems work. It's not rocket science how dosatrons and all these dosing systems work.
I'd never heard of that from volume, though. That's a good idea, because I'd heard, like, okay, you want to achieve field saturation, so, like, pick up your soil and squeeze it, and it should feel like a freshly wrung out sponge, right? And that's all well and good, but saying
that's a good rule of thumb as well.
I like what you said, though, because you go by volume, which is like you add enough ounces to where, okay, that's how much this pot needs, essentially.
Right. Like me, for example, like we have shoots. I haven't seen. Let me tell you how little runoff we have on a commercial level. My runoff it goes into a 5-gallon bucket, and I've emptied that bucket twice.
So you achieve the tiniest bit. You want to fully saturate the soil, but you don't want you don't want a puddle.
You want it to be right there. You want to be able, like in a fabric pot, you want to be able to pat the bottom of the pot and get water out of it.
Oh, that's great.
That's a good way to. In a plastic setting, that's tough because water won't move equal and all of that.
Sure.
So that's. Like in a plastic setting, you just got to look at the bottom of the pot and hope you can see right when it comes off the bottom of the soil. But like me, on a commercial scale, like I run 1,000 milliliters per 5-gallon pot. That's roughly within the range of 5 to 8% of the soil's volume in water. And I know that because I made the soil, so I know what my soil can hold. Now, other soils in the market, I have no idea. I've never tried growing in them to know the, practices, I guess, fine tuning, but that's for consumers to find out. If you want to, go right ahead. I'll help you find it. Like, I help anybody. If you got questions about growing in another medium, I don't care. Like that.
Hell yeah.
I may not know the answer, but my science brain will allow me to probe and ask questions to point us in the direction of where we need to be. Because that's all growing is knowing how to manipulate. Like if your plant throws something or it's going to throw a deficiency at you, you know that before the deficiency comes. If you're a deficiency, you're late.
Yeah, exactly. That is so true.
You're slapping a Band-Aid on it now. You're what's the Flex Sealing it? You know how he slaps the tape on the water tank?
You're Flex Sealing the leak in the boat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're doing at that point because the plant's already hungry.
New Flex Seal tape. I got a question for you. I know you've done consultations and you're talking about, helping growers and kind of probing and seeing what's wrong. What is the number one mistake you see in living soil grows? What's some of the common?
Overwatering.
Oh, there you go.
Overwatering. That's the biggest criminal right there. Overwatering and sometimes underwatering, but most times it's overwatering.
Totally.
And it's them just trying to figure it out, like your environment. I can tell you I run 1,000. I told you exactly what my SOP is. 1,000 milliliters of solution, whether it be water and microbes or just water, because we do water only one day. We do water and microbes another day. And then the third feeding in the week is a tea. So, like I do 1,000 milliliters of each, 3,000 milliliters in a week. If you want to really get down to nitty gritty numbers, you do the math. 3,000 times 100 plants. 3 million milliliters, convert that to gallons. That'll tell you how much water you need to run an entire run in living
Oh, that's
soil.
funny, dude. That's cool. You got your stuff dialed in.
Like
You
you
got
have
it
to.
dialed in.
You have to. That's all it is, and it's running numbers. That's all it is. If you can run numbers and figure things out, like even as simple as you running your podcast, it comes back to numbers. You've got
Analytics,
to get
baby.
listeners. It's it. You've got to know your numbers, and any successful businessman will tell you that. You got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you got to have somebody that knows their numbers.
Especially when you
That's
go
on
to
your team.
scale up. That's exactly right. Hobby home growers have a different level of irresponsibility, I guess is the word.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas when you got to
You can get away with a lot more.
Yeah, why not? But when you got to scale this thing up and you actually got to grow plants or you get yourself a license,
matters.
it really matters. It starts to matter.
It matters.
If you're a caregiver,
that's why a lot of grows close.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because they can't sustain, they can't keep up with the Joneses, they can't keep buying liquid nutrients. Nobody can, unless you've got some real good backing or some real good money, or you made good money in the beginning when pounds were $3,000. Like I used to sell pounds for $2,800.
I know, right?
I used to sell for I had a really good friend who owned a commercial grow, so I sold for a bit, and like man, I was getting $2,800 pounds.
Prices are not
without
the same,
a question.
Man. I mean,
without a question.
When it fell under 2, I was like, how is this feasible? And again, you take a look at other, and that's kind of where I want to go, actually. You take a look at other industries. You take a look outside of the cannabis sphere, and you're like, how do these people get by? How do these coffee farmers survive? It's fucking mind-blowing.
That's the craziest.
They're not. A lot of the time, that's true. And the other thing is the supply chain is fragile as is tinsel.
Bro, farmers do not get paid with their work.
Exactly.
By no means. Same thing with nurses. Anyone that's essential, the politicians get paid. They're not essential.
Yeah. All the farmers need to be subsidized. We give them the power.
We give them a job.
All the people who feed us need to be subsidized because they're paid so little.
It has to. They're paid so badly, and it's sad. Like I promise you, I've spoken to farmers. I had this meeting with a group of farmers and livestock people with the same microbe company, and they were just talking about applying ammoniums and nitrates and this, that, and the next. And I'm like, so you're telling me you spend all that money per acre to fertilize, do that every single year, and you're dependent on that, and you're okay with that?
Right.
And I was like, do you know what, they know what ammonium nitrate is, but do you know? You can't go outside and pick up ammonium nitrate.
Right. It's not natural.
Buying that, I mean, they're planting 50, 100 acres. So just imagine the state of that soil they're growing. It's freaking inert.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. It's absolutely nuts. Have you seen some solutions inside or outside the cannabis industry when it comes to sustainability? Something that's made you go, wow, that's a creative solution to sustainability?
That leads to one of the questions you asked me. Biodiesel. I did not know some of the things I know about biodiesel now. It's crazy. Literally, I'm doing the foundation work now to produce biodiesel from cannabis waste.
Oh, wow.
Cannabis and hemp. It doesn't have to be cannabis.
Stalks and leaves and any roots.
Any biomass.
Any biomass.
Bring me any biomass, and this machine is absurd.
And I'm gonna run my car on what you give me back?
Yes. So you can get diesel. This diesel, so like me, it'll be beautiful for me. So I'll never have to go to a gas station again. My truck is a diesel. So I'll be fuel free. Literally, I'll be producing my own fuel.
That's wild. So a biodiesel made
this machine
from hemp
can use that.
Yeah.
Or livestock waste. They can use livestock waste to produce biodiesel as well.
Whoa. That is
It's
wild.
crazy. It's absolutely, trust me, bro, the technology that's out there with sustainability, the cannabis industry is so behind that it's not even funny.
We are wasting a lot.
People look at things, people look in the cannabis industry and think of things that are so high tech. That's how people have to think about these things. And when you put it into the grand scheme of things, agriculture's been using a troll master. It just ain't have the name troll master for years now.
No, that is.
You think greenhouses were just vented because it was hot in there and they rolled the sides up? No. Like greenhouses, bro. In Europe, there's greenhouses that fucking, even some here in America that have louvers and evaporative cooling and so much other shit that we don't utilize in the cannabis space.
Right.
That's absurd as to why we don't.
I think it's just because
But
we're
it's just
moving so
knowledge.
fast. Everybody's just trying to make a buck now because like you said, prices going down and things like that.
You don't know.
So,
You don't know. Yeah, it's volatile.
yeah, you just kind of run it. You don't know that you're overpaying for
Cannabis,
nutrients.
I like to compare the cannabis industry to Bitcoin and crypto.
Sure.
It's so volatile, like it's not even funny.
It's the Wild West. A lot of same regulation problems, banking.
You're not only against competitors, you're against, the higher ups trying to fucking chop your heads off. Like
totally.
you said, right? You're against regulation. Like,
don't get too tall.
I'm growing a little, bro. My little grow here, my personal cultivation facility is, like I told you before, is a 12 by 24 shed that I completely built out. Like I'm talking 4-inch thick insulation, nice walls, everything. I built it out as best as I possibly can. But like there's things that they're making me do, like an occupancy certificate. Like nobody's gonna be occupying this building. Plants. I can't even get my OBN certificate without an occupancy certificate.
It's absurd.
Which basically just says how many people can be in this building. You see them in buildings all the time.
Oh my God, people count? Now listen, I've heard of plant count, but this is a they're double regulating you.
Yeah, but it's crazy, man. It's like I can go on and on, but all of that goes back to sustainability, like and I'm not mad at them for putting regulation in place. Like it has to happen. Absolutely, I agree with regulation, but it's the way that you do these things. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like growing up on the island, one of the most famous things, there's a time and a place and there's a way to do everything.
Right.
There always is going to be a time and a place and a way to do something. A lot of this regulation that they're trying to push, if they had just done it the right way, and it's speaking for Oklahoma, I know you have listeners everywhere, but like the way you impose regulations and rules, like you didn't hate that your bedtime was 11 o'clock. You just didn't want to go to bed.
Right.
But that was a regulation that was in place by your parents, whether you liked it or not. You didn't get to vote on it. If you're going to live under their roof, you're going to follow their rules, right or wrong.
Right.
So, and it's the same thing.
They're trying to revoke these rights now and dial it back, and that's
exactly.
what I worry about. And it's like,
and
hey, wait a second.
That's where my cry is.
You're trying to put me to bed at 7:30 p.m.? Fuck this shit.
Yeah. What are you doing? Like,
what are you doing at 8?
Yeah, like you're not going to bed. So like it's crazy, man. It's crazy, and again, you have to pay to play, no matter what industry you're in, whether you're milking cows or selling weed. Like there's gonna be believe it or not, freaking people that milk cows and dairy farmers are under way heavier regulation than we are in growing.
Sure.
Like growing cannabis, bro, we've got the dream. Like literally, we live such a lush life in the cannabis space, and I know this because I know the perspective of other industries.
Exactly.
Like I had research and market analysis. Yeah, I had a market analysis in college. It was on a massive company, and like you'd be amazed. You would think that this company was doing great, but if you look at their market analysis, they weren't doing so great. They were spending a lot of money.
Right.
Because that was a part of my degree. I had to figure out what are ways that this company can save money.
Listen, man, this has been an awesome exploration. Do you have any final words here before we wrap up the show and hear about where people can find you and all of that? But any parting words from Soil Guru? This episode flew by. We're going to have you back for sure.
Just my core value that I live by. Just try to leave the earth better than you met it. In everything you do. Like literally in anything you do. I mean, whether it's you deciding tomorrow to go and recycle a plastic bottle versus throwing it in the trash bin, you just left the earth better than you met it. Where if you did nothing else with your life and you died tomorrow, you putting that plastic bottle in the recycle bin versus the trash bin made a difference. So just try to leave the earth better than you met it. That's literally a core value that I live by.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. That's some philosophical fucking gold right there. I absolutely love it,
yes,
Valen.
Sir.
This was a dope episode. Well, we'd love to have you back again. Community Cup, Oklahoma. I'm so excited to see you there. May 7th.
Oh, that's going to be a time.
Stacked card. Thank you for being part of the stacked card, man. That is so cool.
My pleasure.
Why don't you give out your Instagram and your website so I make sure you get it right?
My Instagram is the Soil Guru, TheSoilGuro_. You got to put the underscore or else it wouldn't come up. And then my soil company's name is Environmental, ENVIRONMENTALSS. And that you'll see it. I mean, there's only one page of that. But yeah, you can that's my social media handles. You can contact me there directly. My company's website is up on our Instagram page. You can tap the link, look at our products, product labels, anything. I mean, if you got questions, just reach out. And it doesn't have to be about growing in a living soil medium. It doesn't have to be growing cannabis. You might be growing your own veggies and you need some help. Like, just give me a shout.
Hell yes. We appreciate you, Valen, as always, man. Go and give Valen a follow, and we will see you next time, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an awesome episode. You know there's more coming your way. But that's all for now. This is Soil Guru and Jordan River signing off, saying be safe out there, everybody, and grow smarter. All right, everyone, that is our show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to Soil Guru. Before we wrap it up, of course, I want to tell you about Community Cup coming up May 7th. That's right, we have a stacked lineup of speakers. OK Calix is going to be there. Brandon Rust is going to be there. Touched by Cannabis, Soil Guru, Oklahoma Fungi, Farmer John is going to be speaking. Kyle from the FOOP, I'm going to be there. This is a stacked day of education. You can attend for $25 and get the whole day and enjoy the awesome party that is Community Cup. Free seeds, free veggie seeds. It's going to be amazing. Plus, if you have a medical card, go ahead and get your Oklahoma medical card or apply for a temp one and come on down. You can be a judge in the cup. $99 gets you a 28-gram flight. That's right, 28 grams for $99, and you tell us who your favorite is. Or just come down and enjoy the Homegrower Showcase. It's free to enter if you have a medical card, and you can put your homegrown flower out on display, and the speakers will come around, choose their favorites, and award you prizes. It's a day of education, it's a Cultivators Cup, and it's a Homegrowers Showcase. Come on down Sunday, May 7th, 11 to 4 p.m. at the Oklahoma City Public Farmers Market. I hope to see you there. Grab your tickets ahead of time. Grab your judges' passes, or just get a general admission ticket at growcastpodcast.com/community cup. I cannot wait to see you all there. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned. We got some bangers lined up for you. I know you're going to love the episodes that we have in the can, so you stay tuned, and we will continue to bring you this awesome Growcast content. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye. Do you like Growcast Podcast? Of course you do. Well, if you love this show, you're going to love A Slice of Cannabis, a show all about food and cannabis, hosted by our good friends and members, Hort and the Rugged Gent. What's up, Rugged?
Hey everyone, Rugged Gent here. If you're all about cooking, great cuisine, and cannabis like I am, then you've got to come subscribe to A Slice of Cannabis. We're free to listen to on Spotify or any podcast app, so come and subscribe today. Tune in to hear from world-renowned members of the cannabis industry as we explore the beautiful relationship between the food we enjoy and the cannabis we love to consume. Season 2 has just kicked off, so come check it out and catch up on old episodes with Jordan, friends of Growcast, professional chefs, and much more. A Slice of Cannabis. Find us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app, and I'll see you there.
A Slice of Cannabis, everyone. Go and subscribe now.
You know, we're all human beings. We're all growing cannabis at the end of the day.
We're all run by microbes. At the end of the day,